be seated. Good afternoon. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all the students, staff, official guests, family and friends to this valedictory ceremony for the graduates of the 2018 July Fast Track intake at Trinity College. A special welcome to those parents, family and friends who could not join us in person today but are watching this ceremony via live stream, wherever they may be. I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people, who are the traditional custodians of this land. I would also like to pay respect to the elders, both past and present, of the Kulin Nation, and extend our respect to any Indigenous Australians who may be present. This is my first valedictory ceremony as at Trinity College's Pathway School. So like you graduating here today, I'm at a stage of new beginnings within my life, and like you, I find myself excited about what the future will hold. I feel privileged to have been chosen to be part of this wonderful college, and more specifically, Pathway School. Each of you, I hope, will be experiencing mixed feelings at present, with a touch of sadness about moving beyond the gates of Trinity and the friendships that you've made here, but also excited by the university journey that you will soon begin. Make sure that you remember that Trinity will always be a place where you're welcome. I encourage you to sign up to the alumni contact list, and you will find that the Alumni Association provides lots of opportunities for you to catch up with friends and teachers, meet new people, and find out about employment in Australia. Many of our Pathway School alumni come back to help with new student orientation and valedictories, after hours activities in the Gateway, buddy programs, autumn and spring music concerts, and sometimes as young leaders program mentors. Some alumni even work for Trinity or give presentations on their experience in their home country. There are many ways that you can remain involved in the college. As you move from Trinity into your chosen degree program, you'll make another transition, but one we hope that has been made easier by the experiences that you've had here at Trinity. We know that the Foundation Studies program that you've engaged in is a challenging one that often takes you outside your comfort zone, but we're confident that the breadth of subjects you've studied in a manner very similar to that which you'll encounter in university courses will hold you in good stead for success. Now, for anyone speaking at a valedictory, it's customary to offer advice to those who are graduating. So here are my top 3 pieces of advice for you for success, not only in your course, but also to help you get the most out of this truly international experience. First of all, participate in university orientation activities, even if you already know the campus inside out. In doing so, try and mix with students from a broad range of nationalities, and then join some clubs and societies that will challenge and stretch you. Not just those that you feel comfortable with. Some of my fondest memories and some of my best friendships from university occurred when I participated in activities that were outside my comfort zone. One of the most important things about becoming a truly global citizen is the ability to understand different cultures from the inside, in the process of coming to understand what really motivates individuals from different cultures. Second, learn to use the support services available to you within the university. From a wellbeing perspective, the Student Union offers many services that can enrich your experience. You should get acquainted with the library and those wonderful people that work within it. The librarians have helped so many generations of students through their degrees, and they can help you too. In my experience when studying, I was so much more productive in the library than I was at home. There's just something about being in a place which is devoted to knowledge and learning that helps to focus the mind on all things academic. Lastly, find that perfect balance between studying hard but also having some fun. While you'll no doubt experience long nights of study and intermittent pressure to complete assignments, your university years are also the time when you have the greatest degree of freedom to just be you. Once you move into the world of work and family, you'll find yourself increasingly focused on the needs of others. So for the next few years, focus on developing yourself into the type of person you want to become, forming friendships and having fun. Congratulations to all of you for not only managing but thriving within the Foundation Studies program. Congratulations for making that transition from living with your family, where many of life's necessities were done for you, to living in another country where you've had to take responsibility for the mechanics of daily life. Congratulations for making the cultural transformations necessary to make your way in a foreign country. And most of all, congratulations for embracing the broad liberal education program offered here at Trinity, in the process changing the way that you view education. From all the staff here at Trinity, we wish you every success in the next chapter of your life, and hope to see you back at Trinity as your journey continues. The idea of transition proved a perfect segue to the next part of our ceremony. At each valedictory celebration, we invite a guest speaker to talk to the graduates. And that guest speaker is often a member of the University of Melbourne academic community. Today's speaker is Professor Valedictory, who is Associate Dean in Academic for the Melbourne School of Engineering. He has served as the head of the Department of Chemical and Biomechanical Engineering for 6 years and has also been Vice President of the UK-based Institution of Chemical Engineers. Professor Shawcross is also the author of several books on chemical engineering and was the Editor-in-Chief for 9 years of the journal Education for Chemical Engineers. Please join me in welcoming Professor Shawcross to speak to you today.
Thank you very much for that introduction, and thank you very much for inviting me to participate in today's very special ceremony. I'd like to also congratulate the graduating class on their achievements in getting themselves here, and I know the amount of effort, the time and trouble and the effort that you would have put in to get to this achievement. I'd also like to extend my congratulations to the parents, family, friends of the graduating class, because your support has been so vital in their success. And of course, we need to congratulate the staff here at the college for yet another fine group of young men and women who are now ready to continue and go to that next stage in their academic careers. I'm an engineer, so I'm going to talk to you about an engineering issue today, but I hope the take-home message is just as relevant whether you are intending a career in engineering, law, medicine, science, arts, commerce, whatever. Because my message is around the fact that this year we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of what is perhaps the greatest engineering achievement in human history. Because on the 20th of July 1969, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the moon. That came just 8 years after the first person orbited the Earth. So what a fantastic achievement in just a short period of time. Now the Apollo missions, and Apollo 11 was the one that first landed on the moon, were run by an organisation called NASA. And back in 1960, they had just a handful of engineers working there who were in the space area. By the end of the 1960s, they had thousands of engineers and scientists working for them. So where did those engineers come from? They could hardly put an advertisement in the newspaper saying, wanted, astro engineer, must have experience going to the moon, because no one had ever done it. So what they did is they employed engineering graduates straight out of university. So if you ever see a photograph of mission control at Houston around the Apollo moon missions, and you look at those people who are looking at the computer screens, who are at mission control, they were in their late 20s, perhaps early 30s, and this was their first job, sending people to the moon. Apollo 11, as I said, was the first mission to land on the moon. And then you had Apollos 12, 14, 15, 16 and 17 successfully land. Apollo 13 didn't make it to land on the moon. They had an explosion on the way to the moon and the astronauts were able to return to Earth safely. But what I want to talk to you today about is Apollo 12, because that mission was also nearly lost. And most people don't realise it, but the 3 astronauts were nearly lost just seconds after launch, and I want to tell you how they were saved. Because seconds after launch, after the huge Saturn V rocket with the 3 astronauts in the capsule of Apollo 12 lifted off from Cape Kennedy, it was struck by a bolt of lightning. And that meant they lost all telemetry, all data communications from the rocket to mission control in Houston. They could still speak to the astronauts, but the spaceship, the rocket, was being controlled by Houston, and they didn't even know what direction the rocket was pointing in. That's not a good way to fly. So what were they to do? Mission regulations said you abort the mission straight away, and if they'd done that, the astronauts would have been put into great risk, and possibly have been killed. So the flight director of Mission Control turned to face the console operator who looked after the electrical, environmental and communication system. His name was John Aarons. He was 26 years old, 5 years out of university. And the flight director just was looking at John to say one word, abort. Instead, John looked at his screen and then turned to the flight director and said, let's try getting the astronauts to set the SCE switch to auxiliary. Well, the flight director had never heard of the SCE switch. The capsule communicator, who was a naval astronaut, had never heard of that switch. Two of the three astronauts on board the capsule never heard of that switch, but the third one knew where it was, and he set it to auxiliary, and all telemetry was resumed, and this spaceship continued on its way. The whole issue lasted about 10 seconds. Now, John Aaron was able to analyse the problem as an engineer and solve it and give a recommendation like that. So how was he able to do that? It's because he was able to do something. He did something that we encourage all our students to do. Because 6 months before this incident, when he was in training, and not just the astronauts were trained, but also the mission control people, he'd been issued a challenge and he had mucked it up, and he actually had to solve the problem. And so he wanted to make sure if he encountered that problem again, he would know how to solve it. So what we encourage our students in engineering, and what I'd encourage you to do, is always ask yourself the question, what have I learned from solving this problem that will allow me to be better at solving it next time I tackle something similar? It's what we call self-reflection. And John Aaron wasn't going to let this issue go until he understood his system. And he learnt that the signal conditioning equipment, the SEC, had a standby circuit which would be able to pick up telemetry if the main one was lost. And because he had questioned himself, how can I solve this problem better if it ever comes up? He was able to have the right answer when it was needed. Now, I know it's really corny to say this, but that day in Mission Control, they declared him a steely-eyed missile man. That was an accolade they gave him. He is legendary in NASA because he's the one who saved a mission because he knew his stuff. And if you ever watch the movie The Martian, there's a reference to John Aaron in there, saving the day. So my message to you is whenever you're solving problems in your career, it might be doing calculations, maybe it's an exercise sheet, don't just move on to the next one when you've solved it, but reflect for a moment and say, what have I learned from solving this problem? Could I have solved it a faster way? Could I have solved it a better way? Because that's what John Aarons was asking himself. The other comment I'd quickly make is that NASA went to the moon with a lot of people who were in their 20s in terms of the engineers. Now you might think that's incredibly old, I think that's incredibly young. But it means that engineers are able, and you, whether you're doing engineering or law or medicine or arts and what have you, you're able to make a difference right now, okay? Because you are all terrific problem solvers, creative thinkers, and so you don't have to be sort of middle-aged, overweight, balding with a bit of grey hair to be able to solve a problem. So good luck in your future, and please do remember those couple of messages. Thank you.
A sincere thanks to Professor Shawcross for those words, inspiring words for a group of young people ready to start their careers. We now move to a musical performance by Miss Karina Fitriani-Piao, one of our graduating class, who will play for us the Grand Valse Beyond. Please join me in welcoming her to the stage.
Thank you.
announce the names.
Just a little announcement to make. Before we begin the presentation of the certificates, we ask that guests withhold their applause until all students have been presented with their certificate. Thank you. Okay, we begin with Ho Jeremy Yu Chen. Ferdinand Ankajaya. Lidwina Carissa Aurelia. Tabitha Ayudia. Dominic Bryan. Edward Chen. Josephine Michelle Chipton. Cynthia. Eugenia Leonie Cynthia Putri. Zung Nyok Mai Vi. Maria Natasha Elianti. Ashfaq Fahim. Kevin Feliciano. Aoi Fuji. Go Wai. Karina Fitriani Leo. Stephen Hadinata. Crystal Hartanto. Vincent Anderson Harton. Abigail Rafa Katarina Harton. Olivia Hidajat. Martina Rodriguez. Wang Tingzhen. Christopher Jubilius Indrataruna. Gabriele Fiorentini Jonathan. Erika Andari Kosasi. Leslie Lysina. Liv Siekmoy. Stephanie Amy Mahendra. Cheravina Angesti Mara. Merlivia Muwale. Valencia Nathaniel. Lorencia Jocelyn Hardy. Bo. Van Hong Han. Joshua Jason Raharjo. Sophia Rebecca. Marie Vianney Rochelle. Winda Natalie Santrio. Peter Louis Sanusi. Jaya Sejati. Putri Sherina. Erika Handayani Siddhartha. Justin Simon. Richard Iravan Soputro. Lorencia Livia Subito. Jason Fitzgerald Suhartanto. Fiona Puspita Suryati. Kesha Audrey Suryanto. Andrea Celestine Sesena. Audrey Regina Sutanto. Fidelia Sutrisno. Evelyn Livia Talley. Brad Tan. Carla Tanuwijaya. Ervina Teresa. Stanley Teo. Chen Nguyen Hong Fu. Thomas Darian Tunru. Keisha Utama. Audrey Vanya. Vincent. Fortran Fong Trin. Matthew William. Janice Elvina William. Gianfranco Yapita. Nicholas Yapto. Audrey Gabriela Yudionoputri. Darren Chan. Jessica Amadea. So that concludes the presentation of certificates.
Each valedictory ceremony also has a valedictorian, a student who speaks on behalf of his or her cohort, reflecting on the time that the graduating group has spent within the college. To be a valedictorian is a prestigious role, hence it attracts the best and brightest of students. Today's valedictorian has most definitely made the best of his time at Trinity, and is a bright young man with a promising young future ahead of him. Jeremy Ho came to Trinity from Singapore and plans to study commerce at the University of Melbourne this year. Jeremy is not, however, just your run-of-the-mill accountant or economist. He has a keen interest in creative writing. He has assisted the Melbourne Writers' Festival and also played a key role in running Trinity College's creative writing competitions. Please join me in welcoming Jeremy to the
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, teachers, parents, staff members, and fellow classmates from July Fast Track 2018. First of all, I would like to thank the teachers who felt that I was suitable to represent the intake. I appreciate the vote and confidence. Also, what I am more grateful of is the amount of help that you have given us students in the short time that we were here. As you know, English is not the first language of a lot of people in this room. And I was, and still am, amazed by all of your patience and understanding. I cannot thank you enough for accommodating us and for being such beautiful and wonderful ambassadors to Australia. It's the first time many of us are studying overseas. A new experience for me, in a different system from my own country. You have made the transition all the more smoother, be it help and advice with adjusting to the Australian lifestyle, or by helping us apply academic conventions to our work. And to my fellow classmates from July Fast Track, so all 76 of you, I'm really impressed by how bright and intelligent each one of you are. All of you are amazingly smart, and in fact, so many of you are so much more intelligent than me. I mean it. Okay, I mean it. Hanging around with you guys has undoubtedly broadened my perspective. I love the fact that we have such a diverse group of students in JFT, a total of 9 countries, which gave me the opportunity to hear all of your beautiful languages. Hearing them every day, I've learned new words and colorful expressions. Hopefully enough of them so that I can visit your hometowns in the future. I hope that we can continue to see each other next time, no matter where we are, after we've become successful in our own rights through this shared common experience. And also, these 7 months were extremely fruitful for me. I won't forget trying to perfect my history of ideas, literature, and English essays late into the night. And from doing my own household chores to cooking a lot of my own meals, I don't think any of us feel homesick being kept so busy like that. So some of you know that I like to bake in my free time. And let me tell you that my first few tries were not successful at all. The first time I've made lava cakes, I've accidentally froze the melted chocolate inside of the cake. So I put it into the microwave on a plastic container, thinking that the solid chocolate inside the cake is going to melt. But after a minute, I couldn't see the cake through the microwave because it's filled with smoke. So it turns out that the chocolate didn't melt, but the cake made the plastic container melt instead. So in the end, the entire apartment smelled of burnt plastic for the whole day. But we learned from our mistakes. We all know that university life will be much more different from now. And Trinity will become a stepping stone. As soon as next month, we won't be under the same scrutiny as now. And we will have the ability to choose our own timetables. So hopefully, some of us don't ever have to worry about making it in time for those 8 a.m. classes in the morning. With this knowledge, I encourage everybody to find and pursue some of your own passions and use the time you have in Australia wisely. Work towards your dream. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to experience what it's like to study overseas in an entirely different country. 7 months in Trinity passed by in a flash, didn't it? The 3 years in university will be the same. 5 or 6, if you really like studying. So I hope we can use this time to embrace new perspectives, broaden our horizons, and expose ourselves to some of the values of other cultures around us. So, find your own take on life and set your own standards. This process is only going to become more difficult the longer we put it on hold. Go out and explore and see the world. By that, I don't mean to take a gap year and traveling across the world. That's counterproductive. But what I do mean is to be proactive and take action when you have the power to. Take initiative before others seek permission from their friends. Be the cause, not the effect, and start doing that right now. Break out of your comfort zone, because that's the only way we are going to grow. I know we have just finished our exams, but remember that life is the most difficult exam. Each person has a different question paper, and people fail because they copy the answers of others. So, see you guys at university. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Ken Hinchcliffe. I've the immense privilege of being the warden of Trinity College, and one of the privileges that comes along with that role is being able to meet such wonderful people as yourselves. And truly, these valedictory ceremonies are one of the highlights of the year for us at Trinity, for the staff who taught you and who you've learned from over the last 7 months. For those of us, such as me, who perhaps don't know many of you individually, I've met some of you through scholarship programs, and we'll be welcoming some of you to the residential college this year. But it's still an immense privilege and to meet you. And what is really a privilege is that you've chosen Trinity College as your preferred venue, your preferred path into the University of Melbourne. And you've chosen incredibly well. 25% of the undergraduate students, international undergraduate students at the University of Melbourne, come through Trinity. They do so with an attrition rate. They do so at a pass rate of approximately 98% in the first year. That is among the best in the university. And you, in the fast track programs, have the highest pass rate of any group of students in the university. So we are incredibly fortunate as teachers to have the opportunity to work with, to teach students of the calibre and the potential of yourselves. And we like to think that through Trinity we've set you up and you've set yourselves up with a path that's incredibly successful. You're coming through Trinity, you'll go to the University of Melbourne, the top university in Australia, one of the top 50 and approximately the top 30 in the world, so an incredibly good university. And you're joining a cohort that's coming through Trinity, an alumnus that's coming out of Trinity of 26,000 people. So I think you've chosen well. We're delighted that you chose Trinity. As you think about your future, you're going to go to the university. Many of you will be going to almost all of you will be going to the University of Melbourne. You'll notice I ask people if they come up what their plans are next year. It's a Bachelor of Commerce, a Bachelor of Science, or a Bachelor of Biomedicine. William Angliss College was one. So you've chosen well coming through. And now you're going to be joining a group of alumni that are 26,000 strong, all over the world. So if you look to your left and look to your right and look inward, you're probably sitting next to someone who's going to be a leader in their field, whatever that might be, whether it's computer science, a number of you are going into computer science, whether it's design, whether that leads into visual design, whether that leads into architecture. You are an incredibly capable group of students, and what's really important is that you maintain those networks. And we at Trinity are convinced that those networks are the formation of the rest of your life, are going to enable both the professional and personal development. So please do stay in touch over the next 3 years, or, Jeremy, 5 years at the University of Melbourne, depending on how much you like to study. During the next 3 years at the University of Melbourne, make sure you come back to Trinity, make sure that you stay in touch, that we know how to find you, that we're inviting you to Career Connect evenings and that you're coming to those, to the alumni events. Really important to do those things. We really ask that you do that. Your Trinity email, a mundane thing, your Trinity email will finish stop working in probably 6 months or so. So please, see the crew when you're outside, Tim and Ruby and the others, and make sure that we have your contact details, because we'd love you to come back to Trinity. We want you to take advantage of this incredible network that we have all around the world. It can only be a help to you. So do see the careers team outside when you're done. It's now a time to also reflect a little bit on the people who have enabled you to get here. And that's many of the teachers, many of the staff who are here today. It's your parents and it's your classmates. Would you mind just acknowledging the support of our staff and of your parents in enabling you to get to this important and achieve this important milestone? Yes. It's also my pleasure my immense pleasure to thank Professor Shellcross for his oration today. I'd watched The Martian twice and I'd heard that reference and I didn't know what it was to. And now I do. A 26-year-old engineer who saved the lives of 3 astronauts and saved the mission. It's an incredible story. It's a great story. I'm going to actually go and look it up, of course, on Wikipedia. After we finished here this afternoon. Professor Shellcross, thank you so much. It's really your presence here is an indication of the close partnership between the University of Melbourne and Trinity College. We really appreciate it. So thank you very much. So I think that concludes the formal aspects of today. And again, thank you for the wonderful music, and we're going to have some more music as the official party leaves the room. And then please join us upstairs for light refreshments afterwards. Thank you, and congratulations.